Did she just end the meeting on accident?
I think so.
Okay, I don't know.
Pro tip, when you're the host, you can't end the meeting. Pro tip.
I got kicked out.
Yeah, well, she was still the host. That's my guess. If you're the host, you can't shut the door. You have to be a co-host to leave the room. You have to make
What
something
happened? Okay.
Yeah.
It's like Lord of the
And-
Flies. Somebody else has to have the conch shell before you leave the island. Yeah.
And we're back.
So you guys have the power to make me.
Yes, I do.
Yeah.
I should. Let's see. There you go, Miss Susan
Okay.
and Tim.
Perfect.
And then who was our MCTT?
Kate,
Kate, is she,
she
here?
might be heading back in.
Okay. Just
Yep.
so I can make her a co-host as well.
Sure.
Can you guys see my screen?
Yes.
We can.
You're
Wanna
up and
introduce
running.
Want to introduce yourself, Dr. Kenyon?
I sure do.
Perfect.
Let me get to the beginning here. How the heck did I get all the way out here?
Well, have a great day, everybody.
Okay, hold on. Here we go. Start slideshow. All right. Hi, everybody. I am Susan Kenyon. I'm from the 463 Market Center up in Portsmouth, New Hampshire. And I am an agent. So I have whenever I'm participating in Ignite, I always come from the perspective of production, because that's one of the most important things to me, because I rely on that. So if you have any questions for me, during the course of these next few hours, I love to see your cameras on, your participation. Feel free to mute. I will do my best to monitor the chat room. But if you put something in the chat and I didn't answer it, then feel free to unmute yourself and join me. I'm licensed in New Hampshire and Maine. I'm partners with my husband. So I know I talked to Adrian and Sam earlier. We are spouses selling houses. So if anybody had questions on that, let me know. And it was fun talking to you guys earlier this week. And so today we are going to talk about a day in the life of a real estate agent. So, the whole goal of Spark is for you guys to get an appointment within 2 weeks. So how are you guys doing with that? We're now on session 9. So have you guys had any luck with that goal, or still working towards that goal?
I have an appointment Tuesday to see a house that I'm probably going to be listing.
Great job. How's that feel?
Good, really good. Also daunting because it's a house with tenants and the tenants have already proven to be difficult, but.
Hey, jump right into the hardest ones. That's how you'll learn.
Right?
Carolyn, do you mind sharing how that appointment came to pass?
Yeah, it's a friend of my mom's and also a mom of my friend. And I've been baking bread and dropping off loaves of bread and actually homemade butter too, because I've gotten really little house on the prairie with these little notes that say, I need your help growing my business.
Yep.
Give me a call if you or anyone you know is looking to buy or sell.
Okay.
And I stopped by my friend's mom's shop and just kind of dropped it off. And she's like, I've got this rental. I never wanted to be a landlord. I was like, I can help.
Good for you. Cinnamon Raisin, by the way, 750 Lafayette Road, Portsmouth, New Hampshire, 03801.
That's a really cool value add and a little bit different. I haven't heard of that one. And so I like that story, that way of getting in front of people, like homey bread. Come on.
Well, I've already decided, and this won't be for at least a couple of years, but the other thing is I crochet and I like to make blankets, and it's been a pandemic, so I've made a lot of blankets. So that's what I'm going to give as buyer gifts at closing. And I think between the bread and the blankets and the butter, if and when I do ever start my own team, it will be homemade real estate.
Love that.
Oh, that's awesome.
hey, you work to your strengths, and people work with people that they have a connection with, and who, when you can show someone that you care, then they're going to want to connect with you. So what better way to do that than a bunch of homemade goodies? That's fantastic. Anybody else having luck with an appointment? Well, keep at it. There's still time. There's still time. And that's still our goal as we move forward and talk today about, what successful agents do every day to build their business. And, what I love about Ignite, and I know you've been told this already, is that, that this material comes from successful agents. They asked successful agents what they're doing, how are they successful, and then they put it all together in this great package for all of you to learn what they do. So why recreate the wheel? Let's do what they do to be successful every day. And what I like about this slide is it's every day. It's not some days I do this piece of it and some days I do another piece of it. Successful agents build time in their day to do all of this. So we're going to talk about that. It's really going to be a lot about time management too. As we move through these slides. So, we've seen this slide every day in Ignite, but it's always fantastic to come back to it because there's really, these two sides here, the left side where we talk about growing our business. And every single day we need to lead generate for buyers and sellers. It's number one on the list for a reason, because it's really the most important piece of that. So we do need to lead generate for buyers and sellers every single day. And we know when we go after listings, we'll get buyers, right? The money is in the listing. So when we talk and think about lead generating, I want to encourage you to really think about listings before buyers, because you'll get buyers when you have listings. And isn't that where the money is right now? By having a seller, it's so hard to get buyers under contract. Not impossible, but it is more challenging than sellers. And making seller presentations and getting those listings signed, and making buyer presentations and getting those presentations signed. And the importance of making the presentations, it's not just making them, you have to practice them. Like, this is your time to practice right now, because we do not practice on our contacts, customers, or clients. If you're practicing on them, then I'm going to get that business from you because I've already practiced it. So change the way that you look at things, and the things that you look at will change. Pick which one of those presentations you're going to be practicing, and then focus on that. And we're going to talk, we're still going to talk about scripting and practicing your language. So the buyer and seller presentations, if you're not making them in front of an actual buyer or seller, you can be making those presentations on other people. Who are you making them to? Your spouse, your family, your brothers and sisters, your friends. Ask them, can I run some information on your home and come and do a listing presentation for you? So if you're not having an appointment where you're in front of somebody looking to sell, make an appointment with someone who you know and pretend that they are that person selling, and start practicing those presentations. And of course, previewing real estate, super important. We need to be the expert in the room, and we can't be the expert on properties if we don't practice going in and out of them. If we don't practice, what are we looking at when we go into these properties? So one of the challenges that I see right now is I work with buyers and sellers. And when I'm going out with buyers, sometimes the listing side is saying, we're going to hold an open house, which really isn't an open house. It's by appointment only, and you have 15 minutes to get in and out of there. That's a lot to ask of a buyer. So if we have 15 minutes to go in and out of a property, they're looking at the size of the kitchen. They're looking at the closet space. They're looking, will my king size bed fit in the bedroom? Somebody else has to be looking at the furnace to see if there's a service tag on there. Do we know that this has even been serviced lately? Has it even been disclosed? You have to have read the property disclosure. So if there are any red flags that are jumping out on you from the property disclosure, you know where to go as soon as you get in that house, that you know that basement is going to be where you're paying attention. Are you looking at the ceilings to see if there's sign of any previous water damage or moisture damage? Are you opening up cabinet doors and running the water to see if there's signs that the piping has leaked underneath the bathroom vanity? Are you flushing the toilets? I mean, I do all of those things when I'm going through a house with my buyer, because they're not going to do them. And if we only have 15 minutes and then they're like, yes, and you have to have your offers in 30 minutes or you're not going to be considered. I mean, it's that kind of environment. So previewing real estate right now it's important to practice previewing real estate so that when you're out there with a buyer, you're giving them value. And just like you're listing in your buyer presentations, practice on your own house, practice on other people's homes, go through, see if you could fill out the codes that it would take to list that property by identifying heating source and other mechanicals and services within the property. Can you go through a house and pick out all of those things? That's what you need to do when you're previewing property. Those are great ways to practice. How are you guys previewing property right now? No one's previewing
Personally, Ken, Susan, as you know,
Somebody
I'm part of a
please.
team, which is very nice. So I'm shadowing our team leader and been able to go to a lot of the properties that, you know, she's been going in and out of. So I've been able to see a lot of property that way, which has been great.
Yep. Yeah. Find someone to tag team that with. There are other agents that will have property that they can let you tag team and go into those. I mean, we are coming out of COVID. We are opening up the market that way. If there are, look for open houses and call those agents and see if you can go get in before the open house starts while they're prepping, and just let them know what you're doing. They generally want to help you. They might not want you there during the open house if they are only letting people in for 15 minutes at a time. But if you say, hey, I'll carry your signs in and help you set up for it, can I just get in there to see the property before the open house begins? Then, you know, get creative on how you can get inside these houses.
Such a great point, Susan, because I think you're going to hear from a lot of veteran agents if you're just landing and the veteran agent says, well, it's not going to be a typical day. It's probably not worth your time. Everything's worth your time. We are a student of the industry. If I, to Susan's point, if I can carry your signs, if I can hold your latte, if there's anything that I can do that'll make me a little bit smarter than I was this morning, it's worth your time, right? And what I want to hopefully you guys remember moving forward is we're gonna get back to ordinary times where there are regular showings, where a house might marinate and actually stay on the market for 12 to 15 minutes, a whole 15 minutes it might stay listed before it sells. So, you know, staging and all that kind of stuff, you know, if you have an agent that you can go with, like you guys are going with a rainmaker, if there's a veteran agent in your office that is doing staging and photography, go and watch how they're doing it. Find out what their standard is, especially if they're an excellent agent. Because the agents right now that are saying, well, I'm just doing everything on my wife's iPhone. It's an iPhone 1 and I got my thumb over the lens and it doesn't matter because everything's selling in 12 seconds. I trust the Kenyans, and Susan will probably speak to this. They're still doing everything to their standard. Because you have to function that even though Keith and his family may buy the house in 12 seconds, the way I present the property to the universe is my standard moving forward. That's going to matter. You're auditioning for the client you haven't met yet. And we have to keep that in mind. Behave for the market that is yet to come. Yeah,
absolutely. Absolutely. You know, this is still the time to hire the professional photographer because some people are buying homes sight unseen. It's the first showing, for goodness sakes. Give them something to see. And it is more challenging with some properties if there are tenants, but you just kind of have to work around that. We're still pre-inspecting homes. Why? Because the buyers aren't doing it. A lot of times buyers are not doing a pre-inspection. And we want a successful transaction. We want a successful experience for your seller and a successful experience for your buyer. And when you still continue to have an elevated level of service, you're giving that. You're working on selling this property today, but you're also, I am a huge referral person. I get a lot of referrals. I market to people that give me referrals. I gift people that give me referrals. I like referrals. I like repeat business. You get that by giving an elevated level of service today, even if you don't have to. You still have to keep that standard. So that's a good point, Tim.
I've worked with a couple of agents on showings. It was a real eye opener for me, and it was really helpful because um, she was able to point out a lot of that things to look for, or um, that I wouldn't have thought of otherwise. Things that FHA might be flagging and stuff like that. So yeah, that's super helpful. And then I had another agent that I helped him prep for an open house, and really got into like the different levels of staging and what it means, and how simple it can be as well. So super valuable learning experiences both.
That's great, Mike. That's great. It helps. And every time you have those experiences, it builds for the next time you're in that situation. Without you, before you know it, you're going to hear stuff coming out of your mouth and you're like, wow, I just knew that and said it, and I didn't have to script it anymore. It just came out. So that's really fantastic. And once we grow our business, we have the privilege of being able to run our business. But again, we can't practice on people. So we start practicing now every day on how to run your business. And that's marketing seller listings. And, are you going into your resources to learn how to use designs or Canva or however it is that you're going to be doing your marketing for sellers? Showing buyers houses, like Mike is going in with people and helping with staging, or going into properties to figure out how do I show it, and ask an agent that has done it. Even if you can't go on a property, what do you focus on when you show a house? And negotiate contracts. Whew, man, that's a big deal, negotiating a contract, whether you represent the buyer or the seller. And how you do that and the language that you use around that will make or break. It will determine whether or not your client gets that contract. It will determine whether your seller is really picking the best offer to go with right now, because it's not always price. And remember, everything in a contract can be negotiated. Every single line on a purchase and sales agreement can be negotiated to benefit your buyer or seller. And transaction management to closing, contract to close, super important. If you want referral and repeat business, then you have to nail contract to close. And if you all come back here for the last session, which is contract to close, I always try to teach that one because I feel so strongly about making that a great experience, because I want that for my people, but also it helps you to get repeat business. Vendor management, a lot of things can happen when you are in contract to close, and just when you're under a listing agreement or a buyer agency agreement. So having those partnerships and being able to handle any conflict or dispute in a transaction with your vendors will set you aside from other agents. It's not always that you provide a experience without a problem. Sometimes it's your ability to effectively handle that problem that will get you the future business. Because there will be some bumps along the road, but being calm, being professional, having great language around that, understanding that your relationships with your buyers, your sellers, your co-brokes, your vendors, all of their clients on the other side, you being in control of all of those pieces will help resolve any conflict that comes up, and will help you be able to create a win-win situation for everybody. Because the goal is that we actually sign our papers at the closing table, and sometimes it takes a little bit more work than others. So vendor management is important. Setting goals. We need to have goals around everything, and we should be looking at them every day. Like, have I made my appointment that I need to during Ignite? If that's a goal, you need to focus on it. because we know that what we focus on expands and we get more of that. So focus on the stuff that's important. Compliance and risk management. Man, we are really helping people through one of the biggest transactions that they might be having in their life. Certainly one of the biggest ones that they're having in their moment of life right now. We need to be able to control how much risk they're taking. We need to know what the risks are for ourselves. And, that goes from each state has their own rules. So as we're going through today, I really try to keep it benign around compliance per state, because New Hampshire and Maine and Mass and Rhode Island, we all have different compliance rules, but you have to know what they are. Saying I didn't know that after something goes wrong doesn't cut it. So be aware of the compliance around your state, around your brokerage, and around the risk management, around the risk that your clients are taking or could be taking, around what they're disclosing on their property, what they're not disclosing on their property, what their potential future risk could be. Those are such powerful conversations. And as we learned during the powerful language session of Spark, when we can elevate our level of conversation, we elevate our business and we provide better service. So that's really what all of that is about. And I'm not going to take that call. And then managing our money, because we all work really super hard. And if we have a lot of deals, but at the end of the year, we don't have any money, then you just wasted a lot of time. Well, hopefully you had fun at it, but we need to manage our money. We need to pay our taxes. We need to pay our bills. Our families need for us to be able to manage our money, because, you get a commission check, but not all that money is yours. You might have to have paid expenses for like pre-inspections and photography or marketing, or you might have future marketing that you need to do. So have, a plan for that check when it comes in, to know how much money you can actually move from your business to your personal. And please keep that separate. I don't even keep my personal money in the same bank as my business money. They're completely separate banks. And if you start from the beginning of keeping your real estate money separate, it's easier to manage those expenses and only giving yourself on the personal side what you should be giving yourself per transaction. So there's going to be a really great Ignite session on money. So don't skip that one. And feel free to jump in as we move along. So this is our plan for today. We talked about growing and running your business. We're going to talk about setting weekly and daily objectives, right? That time management piece, accountability. That I struggle with that the most. I don't know how we'll talk about that. Recaps and ahas and daily success habits. So it doesn't look like there's a lot on there, but this is going to probably take us the full time today. Okay. Oh, this is such a great quote from The One Thing. People do not decide their futures. They decide their habits, and their habits decide their futures. Which is really a great quote. And what does the quote tell us about how to cultivate success for ourselves? Because success for ourselves looks different to everybody. Think about that question, and we'll come back to it so that you guys can share your thoughts on it. But what we do know is that Gary teaches us that our current way of thinking leads to the behaviors that we have, which lead to the habits that we form, and leads to our key relationships. So our habits, it all starts with our habits. And, we run our business, my husband and I, our motto is relationship, service, results, in that order. And if all of this, if our habits lead to our key relationships, then that for me, that goes back to what my goal is. Our business is built around relationships. So I need to have good habits that are going to create great relationships. And real estate is a lot about relationship. So what this tells us is that if we create great habits, the success will come with it. Does that make sense or resonate to anybody? What do you think some good success habits are?
I think waking up early is like something really simple. It might be hard, but it's something like simple you can do to always start your day off right. And then from there, it's just like a snowball of good reactions.
Yeah, that's a good one, Carlos. Anybody else waking up? So what do
Time
you
blocking.
do early?
What was that?
What do you do if waking up early is a good daily success habits? What do you do when you wake up early that's gonna pump you up?
I mean, I go to the gym first, and that kind of gets like the blood flowing, and then like from there, I already have accomplished something hard. So then everything else I have to do in the day feels easy.
Awesome.
I think too, I'm fortunate now that I've been able to work with a couple buyers. Like I have some clients at the moment. I can already realize I've been slacking on my lead generation. Like I think just setting that habit of scheduling time of lead gen, and I definitely want to still pay attention to my clients, but I definitely noticed I've been slacking on my lead gen.
It's so easy for that to happen. So if you're doing that, you're not alone. We've all had that pitfall, because working on stuff for your clients is more fun than lead gen. So it's easy to say, I can't lead gen right now because I have to set up these showings or do stuff for my clients.
I find it really helps me to break lead gen into small chunks throughout my day. I'm going to make 10 calls in the morning. I'm going to make 15 after lunch, and I'm going to make, 20 at night.
Yep, that's good. I like that you have a goal with a number attached to it. That's great.
Well, to the quote you read earlier, Susan, Gary would say, "Show me your schedule, I'll show you your future." Right. So when we do our quick start at our market center every morning, we opened up today with Friday, May 14th, and it's actually Tuesday, August 12th. So whether you like to hear that or not, like if you take a great nap today, you won't be at a closing table on August 12th, which is fine. But if you're broken 90 days, you're welcome, right? So like that's just that we've got to be in that mindset. And I know it's easy right now. All of our agents, the Kenyans included, I'll pick on Susan. Well, not her, but her husband, John. All of our agents are like, well, Tim, things are closing faster. It's not really 90 days out. Okay, then you really better get to work, because you're going to be broke faster if you don't do anything today. Said with love, right? So we got to be habitual. Like Carlos said, get up, go do the hardest thing, right? Eat the frog, go get that out of the way, and then everything else is easier. Because then Carlos, I imagine if you get to the market center, you run into a fellow agent at that, by 10:30, you're like conquering the world, and you run into your fellow peer agent who's like on their third bear claw and a coffee half full of cream, and they're like, I don't know if I want to lead gen today. You're like, I started at 3, stupid, so whatever gets you going, and that hardest thing is out of the way, and just set your intention. And the purpose of that, I think Caroline said, she has those metric goals. Not like I'm going to do some things today to make some money later. Like I'm going to talk to this many people. My intention is to get to a kitchen table. That's really important.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I would also say too, there are those days where it's not in the cards. There's something in the air, and you get hang up after hang up and answering machine after answering machine, and like, don't burn yourself out. If today's not the day for it, shift your focus to something else and come back to it tomorrow.
Yeah, it's the beauty of our role. We can walk away, right? That we joke all the time with our agents, the best part of real estate is you're in charge, and the worst part of real estate is you're in charge. But knowing when to manage your emotions and walk away, and then clear your head, and that could be a 30-minute walk, half a glass of vodka. I don't know what it is, but then you get right back at it. We don't want to be negotiating while we're drinking. But anyway, you know what I mean? Like you can just hit the reset button, and that might be tomorrow, but it could be 2 hours later. Go listen to some good content and get back to it, right?
Yeah, and every no gets you closer to a yes.
Yep.
That's what I was going to say, Susan. Yeah.
It does.
Yeah.
And this is a great time to let your buyers know that, right? Because they're getting no on offers. And I'm telling them, guys, this is going to be a process. We're going to get through it together. We most likely will hear some no's, but every no will get you closer to your yes.
Yep.
So what we tell ourselves is important around lead gen. And so that ability to stay up and motivated and not get too down on it is a lot of self-talk for us. Someone's saying off topic, but when in your opinions are the least busy days as an agent? I need to maintain a part-time job 3 days a week while I get started, and I can pick up the days. Whatever days you decide, you can be busy 7 days a week with real estate. Because, and that, thank you for the question, Melissa. It really is a great question. If I'm going to take time off, what's the day that I'm not going to do real estate that would have the least impact on my business? I think that whatever day works best in your schedule, you can make those days that you are doing real estate work. If you're going to be working with buyers and sellers, you need to have Saturday and Sunday available, most likely, because that's when open houses are right in our area. That's when they're only letting us see them. And then by Wednesday, the house is gone. So maybe the Saturday, Sunday thing. I'm not an advocate for everybody working every day, all weekend long. But when you're starting out, yep, you do. And I did, and I don't anymore, but I mean, I'm working Saturday. I have showings set up because that's the only time my buyers can see houses. So I don't know if that helps you or not, but be on purpose about when the days that you pick that you're being productive. And we're going to talk about schedules shortly, so that when, the days that you can do real estate, that you're having an impact.
Yeah, I love that you said that, Susan. I think to come into this industry and be like, well, I'm taking weekends off. Good luck. Best of luck. Right. At the same time, whether it's driven by your faith or whatever, like if your Sabbath is Saturday, then rock and roll Saturdays, and to tell your humans you're available on Sunday, or vice versa. But you've got to protect your time, because when do you see your loved ones? Right. And even if your loved one is your 2 cats, right? Like, when are you going to spend time with the people that you're grinding for all week? So, a good rule of thumb, Nathan Dickey always says, like, grab a weekday and grab one weekend day. And maybe it's not the whole weekend day, but at the very least, guard your time, because I don't need to tell my clients that I'm not available Saturday between 10 and 1 because I'm going to my son's lacrosse game. Not their business. And if they appreciate me as a father and a man of faith, they're not going to be upset that I'm at church or lacrosse. And if they are, maybe I don't want to be in business with them. Right. So we have the right to pick our clientele. We tend to get in the mindset, oh, I hope they choose me. We want you to be in a leverage point where the Kenyans get to pick their flavor, right? If John Kenyon is sitting at a kitchen table and he's like, this person's a maniac, he's probably going to leave, because the Kenyans have a business that they have leveraged that they can walk away from a maniac, right? This is not a person I want to work with, because they're going to be calling me at 9:30 at night. So we got to be careful with our time.
One of the biggest myths of communication is assuming that it happened, right? So if you're on a limited schedule, or there are times, you do need to build in family time, you need to communicate that with your people, that, because they, if they have the expectation that I'm sending you a text, and if you don't respond within a half an hour, that they're going to be totally upset. Maybe you haven't done the job of explaining to them that, if you text or call me after 6 o'clock at night, unless we're negotiating a contract, I'll get back to you the next day. I'm not ignoring you, but I do put my phone down so that I can focus on my kids or whatever. But rest assured, when we're negotiating a contract, you have me, and I have you. But let them know there are times, like if it's church or whatever, that on Sundays, I'm not even available to look at my phone until noon because I'm at church or whatever. So if they know that, then they're not sitting on their end waiting for you to get back to them. So, communication and language, again, don't we always come back to the same things regardless of what session we're in? But, small things done consistently in strategic places create a major impact. And consistency can be the key. So our habits, will form some consistency around our day and around our business when we have great habits. And the goal is to build a plan on how to use your time effectively to fill that mission, so that we can build a career worth having, a business worth owning, and a life worth living. We want to experience, a fun and healthy life for ourselves. We want to have a legacy that we can leave to our family. And when we talk about a day in the life of a real estate agent, we want to talk about it so that we can help you build those daily success habits that will give you a great career and a great life, that you manage that life by design of what it looks like for you. So we're going to talk some more about what those habits look like. And this is so great. We're going to talk specifically about now the schedule and the calendar and what that looks like. So, we start, Carlos, thanks for starting us off with like, get up and get to work every day and do what you need to do. But we need to get up in the morning in order to do that. So starting at 10 o'clock really is kind of behind the 8 ball if we're talking about a normal day. Now, for those of you that are still dual careering it, I understand that you're going to get there. But let's just focus on like, this is like a full day. Like, this is our job. This is what we do every day. So it starts by getting up in the morning. Motivation and building some energy into our life or our morning and starting our day off right can look different for everybody. It's like, so what's the question for each of us individually is what drives you? Is it, I'm going to get up every day and meditate. I'm going to get up every day and go to the gym. What are some things that you guys are focusing on first thing in the morning to pump yourselves up?
I think just taking the time to like get ready, get myself together, have my coffee, like my alone time. And I just think that's a huge part of the day. If I'm like out rushing around and like trying to like run from one thing to another, I feel like I just get all combobulated. So just like taking the extra time, I'll wake up an extra 30 minutes beforehand, like get my outfit ready. So I just like feel good for the day.
Yeah. Because feeling good's important. If you feel yucky, how impactful are you going to be when you start lead generating?
I get up and do a half an hour on the treadmill while watching the feed from Ignite, believe it or not.
There you go.
30 minutes, done, and I'm in the mindset and ready to go.
That sounds terrible, but good for you.
It works.
Yes, sir. Well, to Carlos's point, as soon as someone's talking about, if you read, it certainly comes up in Rich Dad, Poor Dad, and people reference it all the time. Erin and I talk with our agents all the time about the millionaire hour. The millionaire hour is like typically 5 a.m., right? You're getting up, you're meditating, you're doing deep knee bends, you're checking the Asian stock market. I don't know what you're doing, but you're doing something for you before the universe steals the rest of your time. Because if you don't do that, you're like, oh no, I'll slip it in the other 23 hours. No, you won't. No, you won't. Because then everybody else, as Gary would say, everyone else's priorities, which he hates that word. That should be a singular word, priority. You have a priority every day. Find a human and a kitchen table, right? Everyone else's priorities become your list, your to-do list, your honey-do list, right? So if you don't take that hour in the morning for yourself to put air in your sails, you will not be able to fill everybody else's sails. Yeah. Pun intended.
You can't give the best of yourself if you haven't to somebody else, if you haven't given the best of yourself to yourself first. And so some people might be saying affirmations. We talked a lot about that during a few last week when we talked about language, like what we say to other people is important, but what we say to ourselves is even more important. So what are we telling ourselves? We're telling ourselves things like, I'm going to get an appointment today. I'm a great real estate agent. I look fantastic. I'm going to really add value to someone's day. Whatever it is, write them down, read them in front of a mirror so that you're like smiling when you're saying them. If that's your vibe. I mean, that works for me, but it could be really loud music. It could be really soft music. Figure out what it is that's motivating you, that's going to set your time, that first 30 minutes of your day. What is that habit that's going to get you into having a great day, get you into the best version of yourself that gets you into the next step of lead gen and then lead follow up. So that's really the goal here. If we have general goals, but each one of these tasks that we build into our calendar has a goal. So our first goal is getting our mindset right so that we can have effective lead generation and lead follow-up, which we're going to roll into next.
The most difficult real estate to own, Susan, is the 5.5 inches between your ears, right? Like,
Yeah.
and you're like, well, I'm not into affirmations. Well, we spend the most time with us all day, and we
Yeah.
tend to have self-talk. You will say stuff in your inner sanctum between your ears that you would never say to another person, right?
Oh,
We can sometimes be most negative with ourselves. So like being positive, that thing from Bold, I'm a great salesperson. I'm a great sales. They're home. They're happy. They're going to list with me.
Yep.
That it works. And if you're like, no, it doesn't. Well, you probably haven't tried it. So try it, have it work, and then prove me right.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And there's nothing wrong with having them written down and post right on your wall in front of you. And if you're in an office, like, you know, Carlos, you can hear us when we're in our office, right? It's okay if you hear me say them to myself. I talk to myself all the time. Disclaimer, you're probably going to hear me sing too, because when I'm working, I tend to put my headphones on with music on, and I forget that I'm not in the office by myself. But I don't care anymore. So sometimes that happens to me too.
Why John wears headphones too.
Yeah, he wears, I see him put them on when I can.
She's singing again.
And I'm singing. I was doing that yesterday, but it doesn't really bother me that much. So we're going to roll after that into the daily success habits, lead generation and lead follow-up. And as Tim will remind us, it's the follow through. Man, we can generate for leads, but if we don't do the steps that it takes after that, you've just wasted your time. And it's so sad when you've cultivated a lead and then you let it drop, and then you go on Facebook and see they listed with someone else. I'll be transparent. That's happened to us, and we're like kids. We learn things the hard way. Like, I can't have dessert till I finish my supper. No, she's not going to do that. Yep, she's going to do that. Learn from what successful agents do, and don't do the things that they don't do. So if they're saying you got to follow up and follow through, then you got to follow up and follow through. And I'm going to encourage us that what they didn't put in here during this first half of the day, any script practice. And we've talked a lot during Ignite about script practice and role playing and the importance of not practicing on our contacts and customers and clients. So in here somewhere, when you're building these time blocks for yourself, I'm going to challenge you to put in your calendar some scripting time, because we're learning that what we say and how we say it matters. So we need to practice that daily. And we need to energize during the middle of the day. Have some lunch, take a break, go for a walk. Whatever it is, we need an energy reset. We need to reset our mind. We need to have some time to maybe just think about, maybe you had a really busy first part of the day lead generating. Your mind might need a break. This might be that time, Caroline, when you've just had all rejection. This lunch break that you take, that might be the time that you renew and re-energize your mind so that you can get back into the rest of your day. And, you know, it's getting nice out now up here in New England, so there's no reason why we're not bringing sneakers and going outside for a 15-minute walk and taking a break during the day. You'll be better to yourself and better to your contacts, customers, and clients if you do that. Why do we write it in our calendar?
It's not in your calendar, it doesn't happen.
It won't happen. It'll be 3:00 and your stomach will be growling, and somebody will be like, is that your dog barking while you're on the phone with them? And be like, no, I actually forgot to eat. You're right, Adrian. If you don't put it in your calendar, it doesn't happen all the time.
Yeah, I feel like I always have like the best intentions, and it just like real estate can just swallow up your day without realizing it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And if you know you're going to have those days, I mean, stock your office. When you go do your grocery shopping on the weekend, build a bunker so that you have some calories and hydration wherever your workspace is these days, whether it's at home or in an office, so that you can take those breaks and re-energize.
Well, and to the Gary Keller and Jay Papasan theory of building your bunker. If you have to keep leaving your office to go get a granola bar, or anything, you're going to get, Gary calls it getting sniped, right? Like if the water you were going to go get could be in your office that keeps you out of the hallway for that 4-hour conversation with the person you don't like about Game of Thrones, which ended 7 years ago. Like, yes, I know she burnt King's Landing to the ground. That was 5 years ago. I've got to make my calls, right? So I can afford HBO for when they start the prequel to Game of Thrones, right? Like all those things. Like, so if you know I'm going to be thirsty later, you know, I mean, you have to leave for the facilities. I don't want you peeing in a pickle jar, but at the same time, snacks, drinks, that stuff, build your bunker, right? Defend your greatness.
Yep, absolutely. Absolutely. And we're writing all of this stuff down, like like specifically the lead generation and the lead follow-up, because we got to put our big rocks in there first. Those are the most important things. And lead gen is that. So if we can't fit everything in, some days the afternoons are going to get away from you. We put the big rocks in the first half of the day, so that if your day does get away from you, you've done the most important things first. And if we're not lead generating, this is what happens. Your income is going to look like this. You're going to have peaks and valleys. And we really don't want that. We want a steady income. We want to be, if we're going to be doing this full time and taking care of ourselves and our family, we need to have consistency. Small things done consistently will yield a big result. And that's true for our paychecks too. It's a lot easier to budget and pay your bills if you have some consistency around commission checks. And you know, then the afternoon part of our day looks like running the business. So whoever it was that said, I found that I'm working now on doing stuff for my clients, so I'm not lead generating. That's why the lead generation is in the morning, the growing our business, and the running our business is in the afternoon. Because we'll find, if you have a showing to set up, you'll find a time in the afternoon to get that done. But you'll put off the hardest thing, which is the lead generating. And the running the business is like marketing our listings. That Facebook post can wait to market your listing. Negotiating contracts. If you're working with the seller and you have a buyer agent texting you, when are you going to respond to my offer? When are you going to respond to my offer? When are you going to respond to my offer? Just communicate with them. I will after 1 o'clock today. You know, set the expectations so that people aren't stealing your time. And it will eliminate some stress for them and also give you a better relationship with those people, so that when you are moving into the being able to communicate with them, it'll be a happier communication. We don't want to, you know, tick people off by being like, stop, leave me alone, I'm lead generating. We just want to communicate with them. I can get back to you in the afternoon. And that's when we run our business. We negotiate contracts. We attend trainings. There might be a video that you need to watch, or some YouTube thing that you need to do, or practice your contracts. Actually read them before you're going to have a client fill them out, or fill them out with a client. And then after we run our business, we're going to do growing our business. We're going to preview real estate, right? We're going to market, make seller presentations and meet with clients. So we use Google Calendar, and we actually color code the calendar. And during the morning, the lead generation is in red. Red cannot get erased. You cannot book over something that's in red. In the afternoon, we have different blocks, time blocks open that are green, and anybody can fill in an appointment for us during that time. So if somebody is calling and I need to set up an appointment for John, or John needs to set up an appointment for me, or I need to set up an appointment for myself, I just go and I look for the green spots. I don't even have to think about it. When they say I can meet you tomorrow at 9, and I look and my 9 is in red, I know I don't replace red. I have open spots where it's green. Just because someone says I want to meet you at 9 doesn't mean that you can't negotiate that. We negotiate things all day long. Negotiate your time blocks. Protect those spots that are in red for you, and put in some green spots there so that you know when you're looking to set an appointment that you set them during the green spots that are available, or whatever works for you. That just is what works for us. Remember that activity is an instant thing, but skills develop over time. So in the afternoon, when we're growing our business and we're working on, if we don't have an appointment, we're working on our listing presentations. That's where we're building, and we're attending trainings. That's when we're building our skill set. And that's really important. And then we're going to, when we're done with that and our day is wrapping up, we're going to review our calendar for tomorrow and make our success habits for what's going to happen tomorrow. What are the things that maybe I didn't get to today that can wait till tomorrow? I'm going to write those down at the top of my list. I'm a list person. I have a notebook, and I like making a box and putting a check in it. It gives me satisfaction. It's a mind thing. I know it's childish, but if I can just put an X through something, it makes me feel like I've accomplished. So I write even the small things down so that I can have a lot of them. It's okay to trick yourself that way. But have a list, because otherwise you will forget what has to happen. Does anybody have any thoughts around this, what we've talked about so far today? Remember that the last line in here is family time. And we write this in there because, just like we said, if we don't write it in, it doesn't happen, and they deserve our time. Right? Keller Williams and Gary focuses on God, family, business, not business, then family. Our family is really important. And we don't want our family to hate real estate. We need them to get behind us. So they need to see your faces, and you need to make dinner for them, or whatever it is. Go to their games. You need to participate in their lives. I mean, I taught my kids to make dinner when they were very young. So I didn't always have to make dinner for them, but I was there. So put your family time in there, whatever that looks like. But
Hey,
we know,
Susan,
yeah.
I just wanted to add that the task list that you described, I mean, a calendar is kind of obvious. If you're not using a calendar, I don't know where you're going to be, but you're going to be lost out there, I guess, right? But
Yeah.
On the task list, I mean, that is so, to me, important, because there's things that you want to do. They're not an appointment, but there's things you need to do that you need, and I create this task list every day. And then when I finish that task, I cross it out. And if I don't finish it by the end of the day, it goes on to the next day.
Yep.
So in other words, order business cards or something, or get a headshot, or do it, so it's not a calendar item yet, but it's a task to do. And just staying focused on it, getting those things done like that. But it's been really effective for me over my entire career.
I love that. You don't have to put in your calendar that you need to order business cards, but it could be on your list for growing your business.
Yeah.
Or running your business. So that's great. Yeah, I don't know how we survive without a calendar right now. And it's okay if your calendar is like the day timer. I mean, they're still very effective. It doesn't have to be a Google electronic calendar.
I still use paper, but maybe that's because I'm older. So anyway, I think a lot of people, I'll tell you though, my son, he's in his 20s, and he's always said he uses his Google Calendar or whatever it is on his phone. But frankly, sometimes it's great to be able to see a week at a time in a daytime, or know what you've got set up for appointments. And for me, it's not as easy to do that on a phone as it is, and it's what you're used to also. So whatever works for you, right? But
absolutely. And that's what a lot of this is about, right? It's whatever works for you for the how, but for the what, I mean, successful agents told us that we need to do all of these things every single day to be successful. So we know we have to do that. Now our goal today is we have to figure out how we're going to fit all of those things in. So if we know that the must do is lead generate every day, and that's our biggest rock, how are you going to put that in your calendar so that it happens every day? We're going to suggest that it's in the morning so that you can't blow it off, because it's so easy at 3 o'clock when you're tired to say, I'll do it tomorrow.
Yeah, Brian makes a great point. We've got an agent that we love at our market center, Darlene Caldwell Ellis, and she pulls out this. It looks like the Old Testament. She pulls out this huge day planner, like, and the sides hit the table and the room moves, and I just laugh at her. And this massive pen, and she's scrolling her life in it. And you know what? She's kicking butt, and it's been working for her for 3 centuries now. So like, there's no reason to argue with the veteran in front of you if it's been working for them. If you're, if your Google Calendar and everything's on your phone and your life is that way, that's cool. Our market center tech trainer, Robert Vincent, was sharing with us what is it called, Erin? Rocketbook. So it's a laminated sheet. You take all the notes in, and there's a QR code down at the bottom. You zap it with your phone, and it will send it to. I could have them dedicated to go to Erin, Susan, my email, my cat, like wherever you need to send it. There's a few different pages in there, but then I can wipe it clean every night. But then I've got a digital copy, which you could be like, you're duplicating your efforts at that point. Again, whatever works, right?
Yep.
I'll put the link in the chat.
Yeah.
There's a quote that I really like. It's like, everything works, but nothing doesn't. It's like, there's a lot of different ways to do it right, but you can't do that.
Yes.
Yeah, you got to find what works for you and just keep doing it, right? And getting better and better at it. If you're doing nothing, that's not going to work.
Yeah, and we all have fallen into, getting ready to get ready. Like, I can't call anybody until I have all my marketing done. I can't.
Yeah, my website's not done yet, Susan.
Done.
It's going to be done in 2035, though. It's going to be great. Yeah.
I can't call everybody until I've entered every person I've ever met in my whole life in command. Not true, people. You do need to load your people into command, but you need to first call them, because while you're waiting and you're getting ready, I'm not. And we're in a very competitive business, highly competitive business. Sometimes the person that shows up gets the business. The person that asks for it gets the business. And we have to always, this is a sales job. So if you got into real estate because you love HGTV or DIY programs, but you don't like sales, you're in the wrong job. You're not going to make any money. We're competitive. We're going to run into people that are competitive. And now more than ever, and we have to train and skill up on how to always be asking for the business. I was in a listing presentation on Monday, and I knew there were 2 other agents. I was the first of 3 going in. I just kept saying, because they liked what I was saying. And I'm like, if you'd like for me to call those other agents and cancel your appointments, I'm happy to take that off your plate. If you'd like to sign right now. You have to keep asking for the business. And if they say no, just keep moving forward. Keep working on it. They didn't do that, but I did get the business because I was professional and persistent and prepared. But you have to keep asking for it. And if you're just getting ready to get ready, then you're not going to get the opportunity to get a contract signed.
Well, Susan, you talked about too, like the person that you talk to tomorrow, and they're like, well, we're probably going to move in 2022. That's fine. We need to stay engaged and continue to follow up and follow through with them. I use the analogy of guys will remember this from senior year. You walk in like first day after Labor Day, you walk into high school, and there's this beautiful girl. You're like, I'm going to ask her to prom. I'll probably talk to her in April because prom's in May, right? If you were smart, you would have dated her all year, right? You think you're going to walk up to her on May 10th and be like, you're free now, right? Because you're like really beautiful and I want to ask you to prom. Like, no, she's already seen somebody. Somebody's already in her life. Jerry Seinfeld put it best. He goes, whoever you think is awesome, somebody's working on the project. Like there's somebody else working on the project. Like, we have to woo them up until wedding day. Right. So we want to stay in their life and keep following up and following through. And if you're offering value, you're not nagging them. You're staying in touch. You're nurturing the relationship. So you get to take them to prom.
Yeah. And if you feel like you're nagging people, then you're not telling yourself the right script. You got to tell yourself, I offer value. People want to hear from me. They're lucky I'm calling them. And then and really take that on and believe it about yourself. So if you feel like when you're getting on the phone and you feel like, oh my God, they're not going to want to talk to me, then you kind of need to go back to the 8 to 8:30 time and take that more seriously, because the motivation building time is so that when you get to your lead gen, you have the right mindset to be effective with your lead gen. So if you're finding that you're feeling that way, then ask for some help from your productivity coaches or your team leads or whoever, somebody in your office, on how to get that mindset piece right. Because if you do that, then the lead gen should not be so daunting. Okay. We are going to move into set weekly and daily objectives. So the daily success habits are the foundation for growing your business. And now we're going to look at how successful agents incorporate the daily success habits to achieve their goals, because it is all about the goals. If you don't have a goal in mind, then you're just kind of spending time, maybe not effectively. And we want your time to be spent effectively. It is a cycle, right? If you meet someone today, it's going to take a few months before you get to the closing table. So we don't want to kick the meeting people part and the appointments part down the road, or we're never going to get to the closing table part, which is fun. So this is your 411. Are you guys doing 411s right yet, or you are? Cool. Did you do a 411 last week? Does anyone have one that they might want to share, or give us some tips on how that's going for you?
Raise your hand if you have no idea what Susan's talking about. Said with love. Aaron, God bless her.
So if you're not doing a 411, then there you go. Thank you so much. The 411 is really designed to help you understand what your annual goals are, your monthly goals are, and your weekly goals are. And it helps you break them down so that you have a daily success habit to help you achieve all of those. And somebody has no idea I'm brand new in this. Well, that's fine. Thanks for saying that, because now you know that you can write that on your task list to download that 411 and then start talking to your productivity coach around that. Because that's a tool that you can use when you are talking to your coach on what your goals are, and then breaking them down into habits that will help you achieve those goals. And I'm sure Aaron and Tim are using these with their agents that are coming and talking to them. Do you use this every time?
When people remember to fill it in, yes, we do. It's a habit, right? You have to build a habit around it. It's a really amazing tool if you take the time to learn how to use it and keep at it.
Yep, absolutely. And it's a living document. So, it's sometimes I find it a little overwhelming to like, what's my 5-year and my 10-year? If that is like kind of like stressing you out, like I'm overwhelmed by that, this is trying to break this down to like just this year. And then what do I have to do every month? What do I have to do every week? What do I have to do every day? So we are breaking that down into some small pieces. So if we're talking about what are your goals, and lead gen should be in there, or getting business should be in there, how are we breaking that up into who are we calling? Are we calling expireds? Are we working our sphere? Are we calling BizBos? Are we cold calling? Are we networking in our community? What are we doing? And then what are we doing daily to be able to get a hold of those people and effectively lead generate? Because sitting down, it's, starting out with knowing that you have to lead generate and just sitting at your computer with your phone and your headset without a plan is going to be overwhelming. And before you know it, an hour went by and nothing happened with either of these things. So breaking down your goals into some smaller pieces will help you be able to achieve those. So we're going to examine how to turn your, your weekly goals into objectives by applying an 80-20 principle. And, goals are one of those things that I had a hard time really getting behind, having to have a goal around everything. When I first got my license, I'm like, that is such a pain in the hiney. But if you don't have them, I did quickly learn that if I don't have them, I'm not going to have business. And I need to feed my family. And, with my husband and I both being 100% in real estate, we have to be sitting at closing tables. It's just not an option not to be. And if I'm not sitting at enough closing tables, then I need to reevaluate, what are we doing for lead generation? Because really it all comes back to that. And with that lead generation, it's coming back to, do I need to relook at my lead follow-up, my lead follow-through? Am I really reaching out to these people frequently enough to be able to be getting appointments and learning what their goals and objectives are? So you guys have all probably heard the 80-20 rule, Pareto principle. 20% of your effort are the big rocks, yield 80% of your results. So this principle can help prioritize and help you focus on what's important by discovering what the 20% of your activities are that will yield 80% of your results. So we have to identify, what is that 20% right now, and what do we want that 20% to look like? Because if the 20% right now was looking like me getting ready to get ready, what are the 80% results going to look like? No money. It helps us focus on what's important. 20% of our activities, 80% of our results. If it's lead gen, which are your big rocks, if you've identified that that's your big rock, then it will result in appointments, in contracts getting signed, meaning a listing agreement or a buyer agency agreement, which will lead to a purchase and sales agreement under contract, which will lead to contract to close, which will lead to a closing table, which will lead to a commission check. And the converse is true. 80% of our effort can yield 20% of our results. This might seem simple. If all of our effort is put in something not important, not money revenue generating, we're not gonna make it in this business. It's such a hard business. The fallout rate is enormous of people that don't renew their license because they don't spend the time to train and focus on what they need to do to be successful. It's more fun to be successful than to not be successful. So there is somebody named Stephen Covey that has what's called how we spend our time in a bucket. So if we can only fit so much in our bucket, how we fill just like we talk about what we say matters, how we fill our bucket matters. If we start by filling the bucket with sand, we won't have room for the big rocks and gravel. But if we start with the big rocks, which we've talked a lot about being lead gen, if we put the big rocks in first, then we can add the gravel. And then we can add the sand, and that will fit into the space that's left over. Sand and gravel are the small things. They are the 80% that will only yield 20% of the results in life. If we start with the big rocks, our 20%, then we'll get those things done and still be able to fill in the gravel and the rocks. We don't think that we're going to be able to is the problem. We think that we have so much to do today, like, finding homes to preview or practicing presentations. We don't think we're going to have time for those if we don't do them first. But they're the gravel and the sand. Our big rocks fit first, our lead gen, and we find ways to fit those in. We really do. And the 411 is meant to identify your big rocks and then build a plan around those to make sure that we're daily, weekly, monthly getting those things done so that we can meet our annual goal. So it might seem simple, and it is. It's pretty simple. But when you look at all the components of growing my business and all the components of running my business, things can seem to get complicated, right? It's a lot of work. But when our actions are focused on the 20%, then we'll fit the other things in. We'll get to all of those other things. Besides, so for lead generation, what are you guys doing for your big rocks? How are you guys going to handle now when we're going to say, put in your big rocks, put in your lead generation? What is that going to look like for you?
I like the idea of just putting it in my calendar and basically making it like non-negotiable. Like if that time's blocked off, it's not going to change.
Mm-hmm. Yep. That's true. So specifically, if we're going to talk about your big rocks and being lead gen, what are you guys doing for lead gen?
I'll jump in.
Thank you.
I went through Bold prior to Ignite, so I'm kind of drying up on what I have to input into the system right now. So I'm working on doing some follow-up calls on the same people that we called as we were going through that, which was very effective. And I like the fact that we call them care calls, and that's just amazing because for me, most of my the people I'm calling are clients from a different business that I have. And so it's really fun to catch up with them. And now I feel like I'm getting in the rhythm that they're almost expecting my call in a few weeks or whatever, because I kind of leave them off on, oh, so, how did that work out with whatever? So I catch up with them on that. I remind them what I'm doing. And then in between, so that I'm not that I'm bothering anyone, because I'm giving them all kinds of fun things that we talk about and advice or whatever. But I'm also started sending out to break it up. I had they're pretty simple, inexpensive little cards I had made up because I did change businesses. And so it's just very simple. Used to print my name, Keller Williams, and just my picture. And I write them a note and I put in 5 or 6 cards in one of my magnets. And it was fun because yesterday I got a text from someone and they were like, oh, I got one of your cards from so-and-so because you mailed them a card, and a card with your business cards in them. And so my card ended up somewhere else because I had mailed that out. So I'm breaking it up that way because the calls are great, but my client base is less than 100 right now. So repeating and repeating, I think too often the same exact thing is not the best thing for me to do. So I'm making actual appointments to also stop in. I try to do 2. It's a little more challenging with Ignite in the schedule right now, but I'm trying to make a scheduled appointment to stop in and see some of my clients too. So I'm doing stop-ins, I'm mailing stuff out, and I'm doing calls. So that seems to be a nice rhythm that I'm kind of working out and I want to continue to do that.
The care calls really are great because they're so easy, aren't they, Julie?
They're actually fun. Not that I want to make them shorter. Sometimes they run a little long. So for me to do 10 or 15 in a day, if I can do usually like 5 or 6, but that's where I find that being able to just sit down and send out a few cards, like I can build up the number of things that are actually going out for the day. But they're fun. So I don't know, because they're all friends that I don't get to see because of the nature of the business that I have. It's fun when I get to catch up with them. So I like it.
Yeah, that's awesome. And when you are talking to those, I think your sphere is a great place to start because your sphere wants to help you, but we do have to bring it back to real estate when we're doing that.
Absolutely.
If you spend 40 minutes with somebody on the phone, that's an old friend, and you're not talking about real estate, it's just socializing, really.
Right.
Bringing
They
it back.
say, as we've been going on, that you've got to do 7 you've got to remind people 7 times before they believe you're in real estate. So at some point, we're always talking about real estate at one point or the other. And I get the question in, is anyone, looking to sell, or, do anybody, they're moving, or how can I help you in any way with that stuff? Just to put that feeler in there. And I try my best not to go over 15 or 20 minutes. That's kind of my, limit, because first of all, you don't want to overtalk it. So next time you have more to talk about too again. So I don't know. That's what I've been doing. And it seems to be fun. And I think they like it and I like it. So it's a good mix.
Absolutely. And then follow it up with making sure that they're on your that you're friends with them on Facebook, that you're interacting on their page on Facebook. Sometimes, the lead and social media can be part of your lead generation if you're on purpose about it. Some people like to actually converse by messenger or text as opposed to a phone call. And, I'm such an advocate of picking up the phone because I think it's kind of a lost art. We don't pick up the phone enough, but there are times for lead generation that texting or messaging can be effective, but you have to have the goals in mind when you're going to be doing that. And know when the picking up the phone part is more appropriate than the texting part or something like that. The overall piece of when we are adding people to our database and we are connecting with them by phone or by text, by email, and then by social media, is that we're giving them lots of ways where we can kind of impact their lives and bring value to them. So being on purpose about what you are putting on social media, that it is adding value, to people's lives in a way that is about real estate. It could just be information on spring cleanups or changing your batteries in October during, October fire hazard, change your smoke detector battery month, stuff like that. People, when you're putting those in there, you're kind of softly reminding them that you're in real estate, so that when you are calling them, they already remember that from all the other stuff. It might make your lead gen more impactful, but the more you do it, good for you for making the care calls. That's a great way to do it. I think the biggest part is like you got to jump in and just start doing it and talking to people about it, because it can feel awkward, but it's mostly just awkward to us.
I've been really surprised lately because I've been reaching out to a lot of people from like high school that I've been friends on Facebook for years, but we'll make comments and stuff on each other's pictures or whatever. We haven't really talked. And a lot of me was like hesitant because I'm like, I haven't talked to them in so long. And then I'm going to be like, hey, I'm in real estate, like try to help support me. And, but the feedback and stuff that I've been getting from people has been amazing. And I actually live an hour and a half away. So those people I grew up an hour and a half away. So those people will be more like referrals, for the most part, but still like just the support and stuff that, it's like, send me business cards. I'll definitely refer, give me your app. And so it's just been like eye-opening that, that people are more supportive. That it was in my own head, basically, that people were going to be like, why are you messaging me?
Yep. I know we put those own limiting beliefs in our head when they're not even an objection, because they haven't picked up the phone and called you either, but they've still liked your pictures on Facebook or commented on your stuff on Facebook. So we can put those limiting beliefs in our head. So good for you for jumping past that, and calling them. The more conversations you have about real estate and the more you script on them, the easier the next one's going to be, and the next one, and the next one. And before you know it, asking for the business and getting the business is going to happen organically. So good for you. Good for you. All right. Anybody else have anything on 80/20 or your big rocks, or how are we doing here on time? It's 10:22. Are you guys ready for a break? Yeah. Okay. Why don't we say we'll come back at 10:35? Does that work for everybody? Okay. Sounds good. I'll see you at 10:35.
Did anybody do any lead generation on the break that they want to brag about? All is quiet. Anybody?
I'm sending some messages in Facebook right now.
I love that. That's a start. There's no wrong way to get in touch. And I know in like 20 minutes, as tech improves, we're going to start selling houses without actually physically talking to people. So whether you're sending the message, let me ask, excuse me, are you sending that to get more information from them?
A little bit, yes. And some of them I haven't been able to reach out to, like I haven't reached out to in years. So I'm kind of
Okay.
going based on what they've posted on Facebook and touching base that way. And then saying that I'm, and most of them liked or commented on my announcement that I'm into real estate. So
Perfect.
saying like, I know you saw on Facebook and like,
Yep.
Here's my info and support would be great and stuff like that.
Yep. Yeah, the one thing I'm just advising against is if you're texting or messaging somebody that, well, if you're texting them, obviously, if you're private messaging somebody who you have their phone number, we've got to build up the courage to just make the call. I also appreciate that you're interacting with people that interacted with your post. What we tend to do is we'll post something phenomenal on social media, and Tony Giordano, great Keller Williams agent, talks about this in his book, The Social Agent. There's having an online presence, and there's being present online.
Mm-hmm.
So if you do post something, and you're doing the right thing, Amy, if you post something and a whole bunch of people heart it, like it, give you a thumbs up, or actually take the time to stroke a few keys to make a comment, and we don't interact with that or reply to that or follow through with any interaction, it's almost like being in the hallway with somebody and they stop, and like you sort of stop and look at each other and say, how are you? Good. How are you? And then you're looking at each other, and the next question from them is, how was your vacation? And you just give them a blank stare and walk away.
Right.
You look like a maniac, right? So, I mean, I know it'd be different interacting with somebody physically in the hallway. It would be weirder to just walk away after they ask you a question. But when somebody interacts with us on social media, we've got to take the time to just step further, one more touch to nurture it. And, and that next message could be like, hey, thanks for commenting. I appreciate your interest. Thanks for following my business page. I'd love to connect, with you and Ted and talk to you more about the opportunity you have with your house. Have you refied? I think that's, while the interest rates are still relatively healthy, a lot of people bought their houses at a higher rate. So if they haven't refied, maybe they want to list. And if they want to list in 2022, do you still want to talk to them, Amy? Yes. Right. That's what we do. Like, oh, I'll talk to you next year. Nope. She's going to have a date to the prom. It'll be too late. Right.
Right.
We've got to stay in touch with them. We've got to be their person. That's your job. Right.
Yeah. I want to set up some smart plans for people that like I've connected with, because I make notes in Command that I message them or talk to them, and I'll do like a task reminder.
Mm-hmm.
But obviously a smart plan would be easier when there's big chunks of people to kind of help move forward with that. So, and a lot of these people, I don't have numbers, but I'm messaging them and saying, can I have your number so I can send you my app?
Yep.
Get more info from them and connect that way.
Yeah. And edify them as you're sending the app, hey, Susan, I'm glad we were able to connect. When we were at university together, or whatever your relationship was, remind them of your connection.
Mm-hmm.
And hey, when we were at school together, you were always so savvy with tech, or always so good. You had such a great marketing eye. If I shared my app with you, would you kick the tires so I can check back with you, and you can let me know what you think was terrible, what you like, because if we edify them and then ask for help, stands to reason they're gonna comply and be like, I'd love to. Right. I think you're wicked smart. Do you mind if I ask you a question? Most humans with warm blood in their veins would be like, I am wicked smart. I'd love to answer your question.
Right.
I'm the wisest soul on earth. Right. So, I mean, think about it this way. And our friend who is baking bread, again, Cinnamon Raisins, 750 Lafayette Road, Portsmouth, New Hampshire. Our friend who's making bread, like if you keep showing up asking for eggs and a cup of milk, you're a nag. If you show up with a cake, you're offering value, right? So to Susan Kenyon's point, we've got to remind ourselves, I'm picking up the phone to call Amy Souza to offer her value.
Yeah, it's definitely a big mindset thing, which I don't know if
Absolutely.
like that's been changing for me now that people are saying like, of course I'll support you, like of course I'll spread the word, and like it's helping my mindset to change that I am offering these people something and they want to they want to know what I have to offer, and
Yep.
you know, it's getting me even more excited than I already was, which is
Yep.
Yeah, that's fantastic. And you do have a lot to offer. And if you don't believe it first, then how can you expect for them to believe it? Right?
right, exactly.
Truth. Awesome. So we're going to move into set your objectives. And so this looks like, I love this wheel here because it does break it down. You know, when you're developing your daily objectives to focus on how to measure progress towards your goals that you've identified in your 411s, and identify targets that will facilitate your success by using guiding questions. So, you know, first off, translate your weekly goals into daily objectives by being identifiable. You know, what is your goal? Being specific, clearly defined. So if it is around lead generation, because that's our big rock, you know, who are you calling? How are you getting those phone numbers? So if you have a goal of 10 contacts, breaking it down into who are the people I'm going to attempt to reach to get to the 10 contacts. And really identify it and be specific, have them be clearly defined. Because if they're too big, then it's overwhelming, and you're not going to be able to reach that daily goal if you don't identify it. And we want to be metric driven, right? We need to measure it. How will you measure your progress towards the attainment of each goal? It's, you know, quantitative, put a number to it. How do we make that work? You know, what we measure, we can grow. So if we want to grow our business, we want to grow the number of appointments we have, we need to be able to measure it. And once it does start growing, how cool is that? Like that's fun and exciting when you see that you have some kind of measurable way to look at the goals that you've identified and you can see them growing. It's like, cool, they're growing. I need to do more of that. Are they attainable? That means, can you achieve it? You know, if your goal is so high, like I want to close 100 transactions this month, is that really attainable? Goals should be challenging and they should match the allotted amount of time to complete them. You know, so you definitely want a challenging goal, but 100 listings versus daily lead gen to set a certain number of appointments or contacts or number of contacts added to a database. Your goal should be attainable and it should be based on what your current skill set is. So if you have a goal of, you know, 100 listings, is that really attainable? If I have a goal of adding 10 contacts, speaking to 10 people and adding 10 contacts a day to my database, is that achievable? Which one would you go for? Because if you have something unattainable and then you never hit it, what is that going to do to you? It's not going to feel very good. Right? So
Really
you can, go ahead.
I was just saying it would be really discouraging.
Yeah. And we don't want that. You know, we don't want that for you. So that's why we want to talk about what you're doing every day and setting these daily objectives. But sometimes you have to know what the big picture is in order to whittle it down into what your daily picture is. So have them be attainable. Have them, you know, you want to reach, you want it to be a reach goal. You don't want it to be so easy that you're done by 2:00 in the afternoon with everything that you had to do. And now you're going to go take the rest of the day off. If you can do more, do more. And then maybe readjust your goals. Remember, like the 411, and these things are livable documents. These are things that have flow to them. They should be moving. You can speed them up or slow them down, and having them be measurable, knowing how you can measure them will also help you to analyze that so that you can work with your productivity coach or somebody in your office, whoever that go-to person is for you, to maybe make adjustments to your goal. So if I have a goal of, the 10 contacts, the 10 people added, the 10 handwritten notes, and previewing 10 homes, and I'm not achieving that, then how are you measuring that? And how are you picking those people how are you identifying those people? Let's go back to the beginning if we're not attaining anything and reset that up so that you can have goals that you're achieving. And be honest. The whole purpose of all of this stuff here is that you're honest about your goal. So if your goal is, the 10, 10, 10, 10 contacts, 10 people added, if it's not really a contact, don't add it. You're only tricking yourself. It doesn't matter. I mean, I want you to succeed and I know that you can do it. But telling me that you did it and you didn't, and one of those was your sister and it didn't really count, it only impacts your business, not my business. So we want them to be attainable. And we want them to be purposeful, right? Is this goal in alignment with your weekly, monthly, and annual goals? So we are, this setting our objectives goes right back to that, the 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 411. Like, what is my annual goal? What is my monthly goal? What am I going to do monthly to achieve that? What am I going to do weekly to achieve that? What am I going to do daily to achieve that? Are my activities in alignment with what I said my goal was going to be? So if I have the 10 contacts a day and 10 people added to my database, but I'm focusing my time on presentation, on having great marketing material, are my activities in line with my objectives? Okay. So what I do each week, monthly, yearly, professionally, so that I can fund my personal goals. That's how you create your life by design. So if I have a personal goal of going on vacation or building up my savings account, or putting my kid in private school, or getting married, or being able to fund and take care of an elderly parent, what are those goals? Are my actions, am I being on purpose about what I'm doing so that I can actually attain those goals? So I can create my life by design? So we need to have we have to be purposeful. Is this goal in alignment with my bigger goals? Because what we do matters, what we say matters, what our activities are matter.
John Maxwell was our keynote speaker, Susan, at Mega Camp maybe 2 summers ago, back when we used to get in the same room together, which was fun. And I think the line that jumped off the stage, he said, and if you haven't read any of John Maxwell's stuff, do that. There's your homework. He said, do you have uphill goals and downhill habits? Right. My maps coach always says, is your audio matching your video? Like, you're telling a great story. I love that. Really beautiful words flying out of your face. But if we watch the game tape, right, we're not connecting, So, and then taking that from the one thing, if you guys have read the one thing, if you haven't, it's your someday goal. To Susan's point, your someday goal, keep chunking it down to what is your goal for today, and can you win the morning, right? And what does it take to win the morning? And are they all in alignment? Is today's North Star in alignment with my life's North Star?
Yep. And by the way, this doesn't have to be difficult. It doesn't have to be complicated. We can overcomplicate anything. I mean, sometimes we overcomplicate things that are so simple, it doesn't make sense that we're complicating them. But the stories that we tell ourselves can complicate it. But if you're truly honest with yourself, are you being on purpose with your activities? Is what you're doing relevant to your goals? Otherwise, they're just a dream, right? And by the way, too, we all still have to continuously do this and look at this. I'm reading this going, yeah, I probably could make some changes to my life right now. based off of things I tell John or my kids that I want to do, are my activities really in alignment with all of the things that I want to do? So this is awesome for you guys for getting started, but it's something that you really should be revisiting all of the time continuously. So the 411s don't go away after you've been in the business for a year. The setting goals doesn't go away. These are things, remember when we started, we said that Ignite was developed by asking successful agents what they do every day. That means that they still do these things every day, whether they've been in the business for 1 year, 5 years, 10 years, 20 years. Successful agents do these things every single day. So it's nice to read these and then really try to digest them and make them your own. And we want to be timely with our objectives. What happens when a vacation is coming up? You have a deadline. The tickets are already bought. You can't change them. You can't get your money back. Your deadlines creep up on you, and there can be a lot to do before you leave for a vacation. So what do? You get them done. And you have a timestamp, you have a deadline. Your objectives should be like that too. They need to be timely. So if you have, that's why I like the 10 contacts, 10 people added to your database, the 10 handwritten notes daily. What time is daily for you? Is that 5 o'clock? Is that 9 o'clock? Is that when they're done? Well, I'd encourage you to put a time on it, because if it's when they're done, it could be 9 o'clock at night. But if you say, I'm going to have these things done by 5 o'clock at night, remember when we set our calendar, we said that our family was important at 5, 5:30, 6 o'clock at night. You can't blow off your family because you haven't done your 10 handwritten notes. So put a time on it. Or don't put it down if you're not going to do it. But then be honest with yourself that if I'm not going to do it, I'm not going to have the outcome that I said that I wanted to have. Like, these things are all connected. They're not like loose individual thoughts. Everything that you're doing in Spark and that you're going to move into in Elements, they're all building each other and they're all connected. And we want you to have a big life. We want you to have the life of design that you picked for yourself and your family. And these daily objectives are to help you achieve that. By having a calendar every day of when I'm going to make these things happen, ensures that you have a higher chance of succeeding at these objectives. And it also ensures that you're not forgetting about your personal time and your family. So I love that for setting these objectives, we're talking about identifying them. We're talking about measuring them. We're making sure that they're attainable. Stretch and reach for your goals. Don't make them so easy that they're not really a challenge. They should be challenging. Make sure that they're purposeful, that they're in alignment with your weekly, monthly, and annual goals. And make sure you have a time on them. I'm going to do this and I'm going to get it done by this time. Not this day. Be specific. What's wrong with what could possibly go wrong if you say I'm going to have it done by 6? All right. Does anyone have any thoughts on those before we move on to time blocking? So fun. Okay. Time blocking. So this is really important, the time blocking piece, because your day can get so away from you. Time blocking is simply dedicating a specific period of time to specific purposes. It's putting the big rocks in your calendar, like we've talked about, and making a commitment to preserving that time. So I think that the big piece here for time blocking is the making a commitment to preserving that time part of it. Because it's so easy as adults to say, I'm self-employed. I don't have to answer to anybody. I'm just not, I don't feel like doing that today. But if you mentally make the commitment to preserving that time, then it will actually get done. Block the most important task first, and don't try to time block every single minute of your day. I would say that this piece of, what you're doing for your business is really important. So take some time to actually, let the time blocks resonate with you when you're putting them in here, and make it be something that works for you, not something that when you put it in front of Aaron or Tim, they're going to be like, wow, that's the best time blocking calendar I've ever seen. If you can't get it done, if it's not going to happen, don't put it in there. That will only demotivate you.
Yeah, and don't stress out like, I don't know if the color scheme is right. Should lead generation be fuchsia or magenta? You know what? Let's grab lunch. We'll discuss it later, right? Like, let's not get lost in the weeds. And again, at the same time, do you have a calendar? Like, and I ask it this way because most of my agents don't care if I ask because I've lost my steam here, right? They just, I'm just a pushover. They just lock the door when I walk by. If Gary knocked on your door and said, I'd love to see your calendar, would you be proud to show him? That's the question you got to ask yourself. And more importantly, forget Gary. If you did, when you bring your kid to work day, if you brought your loved one for a ride along, you go for a ride along with a cop in town when you're in 7th grade, really cool. Nothing happens. You get donuts and just sit in a parking lot and watch people speed by. Anyway, other than that, if you did a ride along with a loved one, would they be impressed with your schedule? Right? Again, audio, video. We go home and tell our family, oh my God, I was grinding. I worked so hard. And then they jump into the office with you and they're like, Dad, you just ate a half a bag of caramels and took a nap. Like, what's going on? Right? So does your audio match your video? Would you be proud of your schedule if you showed your calendar to your people? And if somebody saw your calendar and said, oh, could I follow you for that schedule that you have cobbled up for tomorrow? And then it wasn't really real. So lead generation's really 9 to 11. Or is it nap time? And said with love, so don't get lost in it. Just make sure you book your face for certain things. And then more importantly, show up and do it. Right?
Yep. Absolutely. Which is why too, you can't time block every single second of your day. There's just not enough time. If you try to put, why do we say don't time block every single part of your day? Because things come up, indiscriminately. Things will just come up, things that you're going to have to deal with. If you have time blocked every hour of your day and you haven't left time for the random things that come up, then you're going to get very stressed out over that too. Random things will come up and you're going to need to deal with them. If you don't, the pressure that you're going to put on yourself is going to be very crazy. And then now you're going to find yourself having to deal with that every single day. And we want the day in the life of a real estate agent to also be fun. So if we're talking about what is a day in the life of a real estate agent look like, it shouldn't look like I'm so stressed out all the time because I've time blocked every minute of every hour of every day. So be mindful of what you are putting in your time blocks. And when you're being mindful of what you're putting in your time blocks, don't let people steal your time. There are some things that people are going to ask of you that maybe part of your script is no. And that's okay. People, you want to give back to your community, or people want to hang out and grab a coffee when you don't have time to hang out and grab a coffee. Somebody wants to watch a TV show. You don't have time to watch a TV show. Somebody needs help with writing a business plan. I don't know, whatever it is in your life, you need to have time for your personal time in there. So is that something that is in my 5:30 when I'm on my family personal time that I fit in there? Or is it just that I don't have time to do that? And if you don't have time and it's not, someone's asking something of you that is not part of your objectives, do I say no? Or do I say yes to everything? Don't be a yes guy, a yes man, yes woman. I have to be respectful of the time and energy that I put towards my calendar. And if I have those empty spaces in there because I know at lunchtime I need to take a 15-minute walk outside, to get some new energy and to refresh, that I'm not going to let somebody else take that so that's why we literally write in lunch, so that you don't put something else over it. Does that make sense? How are your calendars looking? Sounds like maybe we could work on them. So I would say, work on your calendars. And John is much better at looking at his calendar all the time and following it ritually better than I am. I have to set reminders for it. He has to sometimes remind me. I've given my admin permission to say, hey, that's not on your calendar, or this is in your calendar. What are you doing that for? Is there somebody in your life that maybe could help hold you accountable to your calendar? And is that a need? If you have a calendar and it looks really great and you've time blocked everything, and at the end of the day, you didn't actually really do anything in your time blocks, and now you're seeing that's a pattern, you need to build some accountability into your life. Who can I engage in my life to help hold me accountable to this calendar? Is it your kids? If I don't get these things done, I'm not going to have any appointments. If I don't have any appointments, I'm not going to have any listing agreements or buyer agency agreements. If I don't have any agreements, I'm not going to have any purchase and sales agreements. If I don't have any purchase and sales agreements under contract, I'm not going to have any closings. If I don't have any closings, we're not going away on vacation. You've now motivated your children to hold you accountable to your calendar. So if my daughter, who's just turned 16, says, Mom, did you lead generate today? And I say no, and she says, well, great, I just turned 16 and I thought we were getting a car. And I say, well, we can't get a car because I didn't have any closings. She now has some motivation to hold me accountable to my calendar.
Yeah, don't worry, honey. University is not that expensive.
Right?
Yeah, it's going to be fine. Read a book.
It'll all work out.
Yeah.
It'll all work out.
Well, and here's the concern too. Like, then we get into like, oh my God, I need to fill my calendar, right? So Aaron and I sort of get out of jail free card, because like our calendars are open format to our market center. You can go to our links and you can pick your 30 minutes to yell at us, right? And we also have to make available certain spots for agent meetings and agent one-on-ones. And then we also have all of our meetings within the market center, within the region, within the country, for national coaches meetings. So by default, our schedule gets filled up pretty quickly, and that can be cumbersome too. Because because we'll get smoked. Like think about when, like, and I do this to myself every week. I go get my hair chopped. I'm a 6:20 with my barber every Friday. Adam, by 6:20 on Friday, is just like looking at my head like, what I'm like, let's just get this over with. I'm sure his shoulders hurt, all the things, right? So I know, and Gary actually talks about this in the one thing. If you read the study on the Israeli judicial system, how people get lighter sentences when the judge comes in and he's had his bagel and lox and tea, right? As opposed to 11:59 right before lunch, he's probably in a bad mood. So what energy are you bringing to your clients, and as us as coaches, what energy am I bringing to my agent? If it's been a Wednesday full of one-on-ones and you got me at 4:29 for 30 minutes, I'm going to be in a great mood, right? Like, you're probably going to get the best of the worst of me, right? So we want to make sure that we're, again, taking time for us and also leaving white space in our schedules, because Susan and John, as mega agents, you've got to leave those spots for those emergency meetings, and just to sort of recharge your batteries too, right? So don't make it an effort to make sure your calendar is full. Make sure it's all you do, like Susan said, make sure 9 to 11, 8 to 11, whatever your goal is. And I think as of late, James Shaw's been saying 3, 20, and 1. 3 hours of lead gen to have 20 conversations to set one kitchen table, right? And if that's the only thing that's time blocked, but you protect the rest of your calendar, if you're filling that time with the right efforts, the rest of the calendar will get filled up, because after lunch, your face will be on appointments eventually, right? So
yeah,
don't just fill it to fill it. Fill it with the right things.
Yeah. And maybe you need to put in there time to think. Like, I'm tired I'm mentally tired. Mental stuff makes me exhausted physically. Does that happen to anybody else? Right? I'm totally connected that way. Like, if I'm like on all day long, I'm freaking exhausted physically at night. So maybe if that's you, do you need to put time in there to think? If that's what you need to be able to give people the best of you, then put it in there. I would put that in there over having somebody else take a spot that they don't need you for.
Yeah, Susan, I was just going to say, I think recognize that we all need that time. We need time to vision cast for our businesses, for our lives, to reflect on what we're doing that's going well, to sometimes just meditate or take a moment to recharge our batteries. I know there are some really high producing agents that they have that blocked in their schedule every day to do yoga or to meditate. And then they recharge their batteries so they can carry out the rest of the appointments for the day. So don't, white space is important. Absolutely.
Yeah. And I know we were talking about this, Sam and Adrian, earlier this week, that it's challenging right now that we all do, or some of us are working from home a lot. So if that's you and you need that downtime and you're putting that in there, put your phone away.
Yeah.
Your phone is like, they're taking that away from you as soon as the text comes in or the phone rings, right? You hear it ring or you hear that ping that you've got a new text. And if it's your thinking time or if it's your family time and you look at this, you're not making a commitment to your family or to your downtime, to your mental health time. And it's okay to have that time and put this away so that you can rejuvenate up here. I do think that that's important for time blocking. So time block on whatever medium works for you, whether it's a paper calendar, whether it's digital, whether it's something on your phone. Find a way to be accountable to it. Set reminders. I set reminders a lot on my phone because I need them. Or find somebody that can help you until that's more of a habit for you for being accountable for that. It could be somebody else here on Ignite. But there definitely is somebody in your life that would want to help you. And that's how you approach that too. Like, can you help me? I really need help. But you have to ask someone that will actually do it. You have to have someone that has they're bossy enough to be like, Tim, you're supposed to be working on QuickBooks right now. If they're not going to do that, if they're going to be like, I didn't want to interrupt you, you looked really busy, they're not the right accountability person. Find somebody else that will be
I
a
actually
little bit more
bought
bossy.
QuickBooks and Bill Gates took it back. I don't know what I'm doing in QuickBooks. I have people that are wicked smarter that do my QuickBooks. I have no idea what's happening in there. Tab A, slot B.
Right?
Yeah.
Oh, look at this. We're rolling right into accountability, guys.
Oh, look at that.
Create accountability. In the book, The One Thing, Gary cites Dr. Gail Matthews, who found that individuals who wrote down their goals are 39.5% more likely to succeed. Individuals who wrote down their goals and shared progress reports with a friend were 76.7% more likely to succeed. Wow. That's huge. So just by having somebody be accountable or hold you accountable, you can jump from 39.5% to 76.7% more likely to succeed. What if that goal was to have one closing a month? What would your life look like? Right now, if you could envision having one closing every single month, what is a closing worth to you in your market center? Is that $5,000? Is that $10,000? What would your life look like if that were your goal and you brought that home to your family consistently every month? Would that be worth asking someone to help you hold you accountable to your calendar? When you get there, what if your goal was 2 closings a month, every month, consistently? And you had somebody in your life to hold you accountable to that. They're called productivity coaches for a reason. They want to help you be productive. They can help you be accountable.
They actually just couldn't come up with a better name, but that's also
Yeah,
true. Yeah, we really care
PC
about you. We get-
coaches. Yeah.
PC coaches, yes. The redundancy of Keller Williams on national calls, and you get the twang. They're like, "Hey, all the PC coaches out there."
Yeah.
Everybody sounds like they're from Fargo, North Dakota. Yes, your productivity coach. So in your market center, whether it's a productivity coach or whether it's your rainmaker, your team lead, we have access to a tool called the CGI, the Career Growth Initiative. Super simple. You figure out how much money you want to shove in the tree in the next 12 months. We start with that number, the Michael Michalowicz book, right? Profit first. And we reverse engineer it to how many kitchen tables you need to get your face to, right? Super simple. And simple to strategize, right? Not easy to execute. Although if you're just staring at this number, thinking of this number all the time and not chunking it down, that's the purpose of the tool. So if you've got a coach in your market center, or somebody holds you accountable, someone in the market center should be able to help you find CGI. Actually, you'll be able to go to it. If you go to cgi.kw.com, cgi.kw.com, and just log in with your universal ID, you'll be able to get to the tool. And you could run the conversation yourself. But if you have any confusion in and around it, you can reach out to one of us for sure. Super simple. Just makes life easier to know what your intention needs to be that week. To Susan's point, like if you know that your face needs to get to 3 kitchen tables a month to convert 2, now you know what you're up against. And if your purpose is every day I'm getting on the horn to talk to my humans to get my face to a kitchen table, it's a lot easier to have that mindset, and to also know what the financial greatness is on the other end of that. Gives you a North Star. Like, why am I picking up the phone? Disney, braces, university, food. I don't know, whatever your driver is, right?
Always Disney.
Yeah, always. Always. Always.
Always Disney. I love that. And you know how I said, not just maybe the slide or two before, that all of these things should be connecting that we're talking about during Ignite? When we talk about written goals, does that not sound like a 411? Okay. It all really is relative to each other, and it really will help you to be successful if you do what successful agents do every day. So I thought that was pretty powerful, that quote about the percentages. But you have to be accountable too. I am not good at this because okay, so this is where the importance of, I'm going to just be completely transparent, and I've already told you I'm in business with my husband. So you have to pick an accountability partner that you'll allow yourself to be accountable to. Your spouse is not always the right person if you're in business with your spouse and you have to go home and live with your spouse.
They're not the right person. Complete sentence. They're just not. They're too close.
Find someone else.
Yep. They're too close.
And the hard part for me about that is that I want it to work, that I can let John hold me accountable. But guess what? I am a BITCH every single time he tries to hold me accountable.
It's a French term. It means aggressive. Yeah.
The poor guy, he's just doing what I asked him to do. Then he does it, and then I bite his head off. So find the right person. You have to be accountable. Accountability is a crucial part of achieving goals. When you report to someone else what you have done to make progress on your goals, you gain more focus and motivation. Think about accountability as a process. It's difficult to maintain drive over the long term, but when you have to defend your activities to an objective observer, that's what accountability is about. So who is an objective observer for you? Accountability is an attitude and an approach. So accountability is a tool for achieving results, and it's a dynamic cycle, not a static concept. Just like we talked about, we're talking about being accountable to your goals, which we can go back to our 4114 for, and we talked about that being a living document. It's fluid, it's not static. So is the accountability piece. We're setting goals and we're doing the activities. We might need adjustments along the way. And by being accountable for them, you're allowing yourselves to know when those adjustments need to take place, and we're measuring results. We're evaluating the process. So, if you're working with an athletic trainer, aren't they doing all of these things for you? Aren't they setting your fitness goals? Aren't they telling you how many burpees you have to do? Aren't they measuring it by
It's a
maybe
great analogy, Susan, too, because right, like what are you measuring? You're measuring your push-ups, you're measuring your caloric intake, you're measuring your waistline, like all the metrics, right? If somebody's holding me accountable, I'm like, so Timmy, how did the week go? And I'm like, well, like I need a number, not a story, right? What is it? The bold law, you can have reasons or results, and you can't have both. So that's why, to Susan's earlier point, for it to be her and John, they're too close. I would argue that if you have somebody immediately on your team, I'll pick on Mr. and Mrs. Dye. And like you're just too close. If you're a married couple, you're too close. If it's a teammate on your team, you're too close. I would argue, and Erin can nod or not nod, that if it's a friend of yours in the market center, it's too close. You've got an interpersonal relationship, right? We joked about this the other day, like, Pam and Nina and I went out for margaritas. I'm not going to call them and bother them. They're probably sleeping it off. I'll check in with them tomorrow. Like you're letting their greatness off the hook, right? So if you can find somebody on the Eastern Seaboard, and I think a great way to do that is get into that morning call with James Shaw, find somebody in Florida, find somebody elsewhere on the East Coast that's on the same time frame, that has a similar goals, that will hold you accountable. So when they ask you, right, because, and Erin and I know, we never want to ask an agent, how many calls did you make? That's not the point. How many appointments did you set? Now, if that's a 0, we can start to reverse engineer the questions. Okay, well, so no appointments. How many people did you talk to? 3. How many calls did you make? 3.5, right? And no matter what the other numbers are, they're probably not great enough to make the 0 not a 0. And we just know that it needs to be more. Because what we have found, and Susan knows this because she runs a great team, if you have an agent who has huge numbers and the first one's a 0, then we just know we need to change your batting stance. You might be having a myriad of conversations, but you're not asking the right questions. Because the Dyes aren't going to get any business if they're like, so how's it going? Did you bake any bread today? How about that weather? Right. But you never get to the point where you offer value or remind them that you're here to sell and you're here to help. You're here to serve. Right. Like if they've had 17 conversations with you in the last 2 years and they don't know you're in real estate, you're doing it wrong. Right. And it's not about getting on the phone to sell to them. It's about getting on the phone to be an active service. Right. Are you coming from contribution? And the more you interact with them and let real estate become the background music, then you'll have metrics to talk about, not a story to tell. I checked in with the Dyes. They're baking bread. They're going sailing. Lovely couple. Okay. Do they have a house? Yeah, they're listing. I'm really happy for them.
Yeah.
Wow. Right? Yeah. Wow.
Absolutely. Absolutely. This is dynamic. Accountability is dynamic. It's moving all of the time. And Gary Keller says, until you're willing to have someone else hold you accountable, you can't hold somebody else accountable. So it's a skill that you can really master on both sides. And you can be giving somebody else the gift of holding them accountable, but you have to learn how to be accountable yourself. And we're evaluating all along the way so that we can make those adjustments. It breaks it down into small enough pieces where we can start identifying where the breakdowns are. So if it is about the calls, is it about the volume of attempts? Is it about the people or the numbers where am I getting those from? Is it about the conversations that I'm having? Like I'm talking to a lot of people, but I'm not getting the appointment. Well, that will break that down. Now we know where to go in and make the adjustment. If you're not getting anyone on the phone, then that's where we make the adjustment. You get them on the phone, but you're not setting an appointment. That's where we make the adjustment. You're getting the appointment, but you're not signing any agency contracts. That's where we make an adjustment. You're getting agency contracts signed, but you're not putting anybody under a contract. That's where we make an adjustment. You're getting people under contract, but their butts are not getting to a closing table. That's where we make an adjustment. You're getting to a closing table and then you never talk to them again so you don't get repeat and referral business. That's where we make an adjustment. So the accountability is, where do we make an adjustment? And who's going to help me with that? Who's going to make sure I'm doing what I said I wanted to do? I'm not putting those goals on you. You're the one that said you wanted to do it. If you don't want to do it, then let's readjust the goal. Is that the adjustment? But unless you're going to have honest conversations with people about that, it's not, you're just going to you're going to get frustrated, and then you're not going to renew your license. And that's not what we're here for. We're here to help you be successful and do what other successful agents do every day. Feel free to jump in anytime. So we're going to talk about creating a plan for accountability. So add accountability check-ins to your calendar. So first, you're going to need to find a partner to be accountable with. And that could be, you're holding them accountable and they're holding you accountable. It could be a two-way thing. You might find someone that is only holding you accountable and you're not holding them accountable to anything else. That might seem a little unfair some of the time. So it might be more beneficial to find somebody else that's having some of the same challenges that you are. If it's around your calendar, to help hold each other accountable. And you might have accountability partners for multiple accountability partners. You might have someone holding you accountability for your lead gen and somebody else holding you accountable for something else, for your calendar. Are you following your calendar? That could be a different person than who's holding you accountability for your lead generation or for your number of appointments held or for number of contracts signed. So this is a homework assignment in case we weren't super clear on that. You need to get an accountability partner. Spend some time thinking about who that person should be. And then set a time in your calendar that you're actually going to talk about holding each other accountability. Because if you're my accountability partner and we don't have a time scheduled for check-ins, then we're not really holding each other accountable. And how often am I going to meet with this person? Right? So you need to share your goals with your accountability partner. What's your long, medium, and short-term goals? Oh my gosh, that sounds like a 411. Plan your check-ins. How often do you need a check-in? What method of communication is ideal? Like, wow, have we not learned that we can communicate a gazillion different ways right now? We can Zoom, we can Google Hangout, we can get on the phone, we can even meet in person again. So what is it? How are you guys going to do it? Right now we're being specific here. And then set a date. When and where will you meet to check in? Doesn't have to be an hour. It can be 15 minutes, can be 30 minutes. And even the making a date can be dynamic. You might be checking in more frequently for the first 6 months than you are for the 6 months after that. But that is a roadmap of how to create a plan for accountability. And to do it just like our goals when we talked about doing it on purpose and being attainable, you want your accountability to be purposeful and attainable. So have whatever it is that you need to be held accountable for, have it matter, have it be in alignment with your goals. And then we're going to measure it by having communication with our accountability partners.
I think really having them understand your why as well, like really helps. Like we met with Mark Richards the other day, if anyone here is familiar with him.
Yeah.
And we kind of broke down our goals and then we kind of like fed it into like one why. And it really helps motivate, like when, whoever's holding you accountable, they can kind of like throw those jabs, like, of what the reason that's actually driving you to begin with. They can kind of help remind you why you're doing these goals. I think it's helpful.
Yeah, that's a great point, Adrian, and totally true. Like, why are you spending all of this time cold calling or lead generating and scripting and practicing? You have to have a motivating big why to do that. And that's kind of hard to figure out your big why, isn't it? Cool. Anybody else have anything on Any luck on accountability or finding an account? Has anyone doing this already?
Yeah, I actually have two accountability people. One of them I meet with every Wednesday at 7. We're on the phone for about an hour. These are friends of mine that got into real estate. They're in Florida. So they've been into it about 18 months and having a lot of success. And, you know, we take off the friend hat and it's just strictly business. We get the business out of the way and then we talk social. But they're pretty strict. You know, what are you doing daily? You know, how many people are you talking to? We go over stuff, technology stuff. They help me with, you know, smart plans, campaigns, all that type of stuff. And it's, you know, what we do is I'll tell them what I want to talk about. So I'll send out a little schedule, what I want to talk about, and then we go after it. And it's been extremely helpful. It's kind of weird when you've been friends with somebody for 20 years and you're talking business, and we stay major focused on that. We don't talk about anybody else, none of our friends. It's just, let's stick to it and get it done, and then we'll socialize afterwards. So extremely helpful.
That is awesome. Good for you, Chuck. It sounds like the same rules apply for scripting that apply for accountability, right? Like you just get on the phone, you talk about what you need to talk about, and it's not about chit-chatting about what you had for dinner. Yep. Awesome. Anybody else? Well, cool. That gives you all something to add to your calendar on your daily success habit to find an accountability partner if you don't have one. Okay, so we're at this point that we see this slide, right, every time where we have a chance to have some ahas to achievement. Oop, let me advance here. So after talking about like the day in the life of a successful agent, how has your thinking changed? What ideas or mindsets were new? How do you feel differently about, what do you feel differently about? What was meaningful for you today? And how will your behaviors be different going forward? Or are there actions that you will take moving forward? Does anybody have any ahas today that might have resonated with them? This is like Vegas too. Like this is a safe environment here.
For me, I like, for example, the Ignite, it's 9 to 12 every day. That's in my calendar. I'll hold to it because there's other people there that I feel like it's like the accountability. But whereas if I just have to like block the time for myself to do something, I don't hold myself as accountable because there's not other people like waiting on me kind of thing. Not that you guys wait on me, because obviously, you know, there's tons of people in the class, but in my mindset, it's just like, it's an appointment, it's a meeting. Whereas I need to work on, it's an appointment, it's a meeting, even if it's just me doing my contacts and my leads and all that stuff.
Awesome. We don't erase. If we erase, we replace. Something in your calendar. And I am grateful that you're here today.
Hey, Susan.
Hi.
Yeah, hi. So I just was wondering with, I've used some other databases like Salesforce and HubSpot or whatever. So Command, if you had an accountability partner, would that accountability partner be able to somehow hold you accountable in command of how many new, let's say, leads you put in there a week?
Well, that would all depend on how you're measuring.
Yeah, right.
How are you measuring that? And I have to say, maybe Erin might have a better answer on Command, on if there's functionality in there. There must be a way for you to pull how many how many contacts were added over a period of time. Do you know, Erin or Tim, by any chance? Can you run reports like that?
Yeah, I'm sure there's a way to see, you know, in the last, 90 days, how many people have been added. You'd be able to do that. If Robert were here, he'd be able to tell us for sure.
Right.
But there's certainly an overview for that. Yeah.
Yeah. And if there isn't, or if we don't know that now, then you just have to keep track of that separately until they can build that functionality in. but knowing how many contacts you add is really important. And then when you're putting them in command, how are you remembering to follow up with them? Because just putting them in, it doesn't count.
Right.
You have to have, even if you don't have the smart plan set up for them immediately, is there a plan for calling them once a month or once a quarter? You can make plans as easy as that so that you have those reminders. Who do I need to talk to today? Because you think that you're going to remember, but you won't. You're going to get too busy. And then you're going to go on Facebook and see that they bought or sold with somebody else when all they really needed to do was hear from you. It's not their job to remember that we're in real estate. It's our job to always be reminding them so that when they think of real estate, that we are the first person that comes to mind, whether it's about buying, selling, investing, or whether it's about just getting information. Be somebody that is so approachable for any property related topics. I need a painter. I need my
Right.
furnace serviced. Who can I call? I can call the Kenyans because they always have a resource for me.
It's a great point, Susan. If you think about when you talk to most of your clientele and you ask them, is it more important that it's a colonial in this town or is the town more important, right? Most people are making a purchase based on lifestyle or proximity to something that drives their lifestyle. So I think a great exercise is, if you guys are at home, stand on your front step, look at your neighborhood, and in the grander scheme of things, you're looking at the town you live in. Think about all the things in the town that you love, the butcher, the baker, the candlestick maker, your favorite restaurant, all that kind of stuff. Then stand at the end of your driveway and look at your house and think about all the allied resources that could be at your house, the painter, the general contractor, the audio guy that could come in and wire speakers for you, anything, the landscaper, and make sure you have that list. That's a pretty simple list to start making calls to let all your allied resources know that you're a real estate agent now and start to build that too as a list of people. Because I think we fall short on that. The referrals that we could be getting from allied resources, never mind the other agents. What Susan and I definitely know is in a year, if we ran into you, you're like, Timmy, I've got 1,000 people on my phone, 750 of them are moved over into my database. Well, why only 750? Well, the other 250 are real estate agents. They should be in there too. Because if you can look back and think about, if in 5 years you can say 20% of my business was referral-based business from other agents. And think about this too, if you're just getting into the industry, or if you've been in the industry, in the last 18 months, how many people pieced out? How many people didn't make it through COVID? And I don't mean they passed away. I mean, they just didn't make it through the industry during COVID because they decided not to sell, which seems maniacal because it's been a great time to be in real estate, but staying in touch with those people too, for sure. And we talked about this morning on a quick start. If you've got 30 people in command, good for you. It's 29 more than most people have. And are they all fleshed out? Do you have Susan Kenyon? Do you have her husband's name, John? Do you have Susan at leavemealone.com? Do you have her phone number and do you have her physical address? Right? Because if they're not fleshed out, you can't really deliver the point of command in the first place, which is a lifestyle conversation. Most of us don't have our clients' physical address, and that's huge for neighborhoods and having the lifestyle conversation with them.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Because our hope here today is that we want this material to pump you up. We want you to feel like I can do this because we know that you can. And we want you to have clarity around that. I can do this. And now I have a path. I have a roadmap. I know how to get started. Does anybody else have any ahas that they would like to share? Mine is that I could be doing more of this stuff myself. It's important to constantly be training and educating yourselves. And a lot of it is constantly going back to the basics because you get so caught up in your own business that some of the basics slide. So you're not alone if you feel like that. We all do this. We all constantly have to be getting back onto, doing the things that successful agents do every day, back to the lead generating, back to the being accountable, back to working with your calendar. So if you find yourself feeling like I can't do this, you can do it. And if you slip and fall, that is okay. I 100% believe that I have mastered failing forward. And I am so okay with that. I have failed at a lot of things before I've mastered it, but I keep every day going out there and doing something better than I did yesterday. And if I fail at something today, that's okay because I took a swing. And you miss 100% of the shots that you don't take. So if you're afraid to take the shot, you're never going to get it. But if you start taking some shots, some of them will land and you'll get better at taking the shot. So we're going to move to daily success habits. And did this one get taken out of the slide? Oh, see, we can't pass scripts. Or is that second? Hold on. Now I'm off track. Hold on 1 minute and I'll get back to where I need to be.
We can't skip the do not call registry.
Oh, hold
either.
on. I know. I'm like end of slideshow.
Oh.
What did I do?
Who's
Class
gonna
is
lose
over.
42 grand hanging around?
Set up slideshow. Hold
Yeah.
on.
And that was
No.
a great ending.
But yeah, no, we definitely have to go back here. Oh, maybe. Set up slideshow. Okay.
Sorry, I couldn't answer your question before, Susan. I went to answer it, and then I think in the last 16 months, I've had my internet go out one other time. There's no wind or anything, and my internet just totally dropped. So
Oh, that
Just
was
that-
you?
That good old
Okay.
dial up in Bow, New Hampshire. Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Some poor guy out in the street holding two wires together.
I don't have no idea what just happened. So.
Oh my gosh. Well, we're not going to skip any of these because we still have 25 minutes. Even though I don't have the exact presentation part on now, but we're just gonna work with that. But let's not forget our scripts, because part of what every successful agent does every day is lead generate, and I just feel so strongly that we can't be practicing on our contacts, our customers, and our clients. It's important to learn, internalize, and personalize your scripts. You guys are training. You deserve to sit at every kitchen table that any other agent does. So when you're sitting at the table, be the best person, because there is a lot of competition. So there's scripts for lead generating. There's scripts for uncovering motivation, which is so powerful. If you don't know why somebody wants to buy or sell, it's hard to beat out a competitor that's going to find out that information. And we're here to help people. How can we help them if we don't know why they need to get to where they want to get to? Because they think they might have to take this road. But if we know what their motivation is, we might open up a whole roadmap of options to them that they weren't aware of. Now we're really adding value, because we're here to serve and help and to create opportunities for our clients. So we need to be able to have scripts around finding out their motivation so that we can do that effectively, so that we can elevate the level of conversations that we're having with people, so that our conversations are more powerful. We need scripts to close deals. This is a sales job. You have to be asking for the business. You have to be asking for the appointment. You have to be asking for an agency agreement to be signed. You have to ask for purchase and sales agreements to be signed. You have to negotiate. You have to close. So we have to close deals. And there's so many functions of our job that are around closing deals. It's not always the purchase and sales agreement or the listing agreement. Sometimes it's just the appointment. Speak in terms the customer understands. That's why we script. They don't get all the acronyms that we have in our world, MLS and, KWCLM and KWRI. And they don't understand all of the acronyms that we use. We need to speak their language. What is their love language, right? We talked about this in the script class on know your person. Are they a high D? Do I have to be really direct with them and cut out all the other stuff? Are they analytical? Do I need to have spreadsheets on hand, multiple copies, color coded? Who is it that I'm talking to? Speak their love language, and we need scripts around that so that we can find that out. And scripts build confidence. People want to work with someone who knows what they're doing. And if we're stumbling our way through a conversation, they're not going to be confident in us, and we're not going to be confident in ourselves. So scripting is not about tricking people. It really is about elevating a conversation and being powerful and powerfully impacting the person that you're communicating with, and it will build confidence in yourself. It will give you time to listen to what they're saying when you don't have to be constantly thinking, what the heck am I going to say next? If you're worried about what you have to say next and you're not scripting enough, internalized scripts allow you to listen so that you can respond intelligently and by adding value. We're not going to role play. You guys are totally off the hook for that. But please get a script partner. They will help you so much. They will help you build your business. And we have to talk about the compliance do not call list. If you call someone and they say that they're on the do not call list, your script is, I'm so very sorry. I'm going to remove you from my list right now. Have a great day. Just say you're sorry and get off the phone. Okay? You should be checking your numbers against the do not call list before calling. The fines are ridiculously high, like $41,000 or something crazy like that. So we don't want to be doing that. We really do want to be respectful of people. There's plenty of people out there that want to hear from you. Okay? But if you do happen to call someone on it, say you're sorry and get off the phone. Okay? Update contacts and follow up. Oh my gosh, it's so important. If we're going to do all of this work, we're going to call people, we're going to have great conversations. We have to make sure that their contacts are updated in Command. We have to make sure, or whatever database that you're using, we need their full contact information. We need their notes so that you can put a note in there about what you talked to them about today, so that when you put in when you're going to follow up with them next, you're picking up where you left off. They need to know that you heard them, that you cared, and you'll forget if you don't write it down in your database. You really will.
Susan.
Hi.
Hi. I'm just going to add really quick on the do not call registry. There is a guide on the Facebook group specifically for the do not call registry. If you haven't made yourself familiar with that, you can go in there. There's a video on how to register, on how to use it. Please recognize that we all are required to understand our responsibility around the do not call registry. There's no, I didn't know, please forgive me. So we do need to have our due diligence to know that. So, and if you have more questions, please reach out to your leadership and your market centers.
Awesome.
Thank you.
No, you're good.
The legal stuff is out of the way. I checked the box.
Oh my goodness. So, homework for you guys is your contract practice. You really need to know your contracts, people. You should be able to have them upside down and point to them line by line. And there's a lot of power in reviewing contracts with people. Whether it's the listing agreement, a buyer agency agreement, or a purchase and sales agreement, they don't know what they're looking at. That's our job. And then knowing who you're communicating with, if it is a high D, getting through that contract with what you have to say, but no more than what you have to say. Or am I talking to someone that really is going to want every detail? They're not going to tell you their objections. You have to be able to read through your communication with them to find out if they have an objection. But we want people to understand what they're signing. You have to be direct about the pieces of the contract that are difficult. Like if talking about commission is difficult, get over it, practice it, script it, and then do it again, because how we get paid is important. And I think that a lot of agents are uncomfortable about talking about how we get paid. But it's very important for the other person to understand how we get paid, especially if they're the ones cutting a check. So we have to be very direct about some of the pieces that are in a contract. And if they're uncomfortable pieces, the more we script them, the less uncomfortable they'll be. So practice your contracts, please. That is part of running your business. And going to Command and Connect, there's lots of opportunities for help with your Command. If you don't have a database, you should definitely be jumping onto Command. You can always click the question mark. There's help within your market center for Command. if you're not in it, you're not good at it, then that's part of the things, one of the things that you're going to want to time block, because you do have to have a database, people. You can't willy-nilly it, and you can't just rely on an Excel spreadsheet. Because I know that all of you are going to do so much lead generating that you're going to need a command or a database to keep you organized and to make sure that you're not letting anyone slip through the cracks. And we create our success list. You know, I love this because it's so simple, and sometimes the simple things really do work. So I don't use this form, but I very much use this format every day on my checklist. I told you I like to check the boxes. And I know that there are some things that I'm not going to get to. So it might, you know, if I'm using a priority like an A, B, or C, I love that because I know my A's have to get done before I can go home. And it's Friday. So my list of my A's are going to get done so that I'm not in the office at 6 o'clock on a Friday night. But if my A's aren't done, I will be at the office at 6 o'clock at night. And that will motivate me to get done what I have to do. When I have that list in front of me and all these other things are getting thrown at me, like maybe even people coming into my office, I give myself permission to say, I can't help you right now. Because I still have 4 A's left to do and it's 4:30. But I'll be done at 6, or I can call you on my way home, or can this wait till Monday? Knowing what your priorities are will help you achieve your goals so that you can get to the setting the appointments. And of course, there's going to be an Ignite survey. Are we still doing the surveys, Erin? Maybe at the
Yes, I
end?
believe they are being sent out by the region.
Okay.
But they absolutely can use this code that's here and give us feedback for you. Yep.
Okay. Awesome.
If you enjoyed today's class, please comment that you loved Susan Kenyon. If you did not enjoy today's class, please say that you do not like Nathan Dickey. Super simple. Yeah. Blame it on, if you didn't have a good time, blame it on Nate.
Yeah.
Say Nate was terrible.
I totally love that plan. That's great.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
Susan was great. Nathan was awful. Pick one. Keep it light and easy on a Friday.
Absolutely. Absolutely. But that's all I have for you guys today. I just know that you guys can go out there and do this. And if you continue to break it down into small pieces and do the big rocks first, you'll have success and have some fun with it. And build in the personal time at the end of your day and time to think and re-energize yourselves. If you need anything, please feel free to reach out to me. I'm very easy to find on Facebook. I hope you all have a great weekend.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
If anyone has any lasting questions, feel free to shoot them out.
All right. Thanks a lot.
You're welcome. All right. It looks like we're good, Tim. Erin, look at, I even finished early. You guys get an extra 14 minutes.
It's amazing.
See you guys. Have a great weekend.
Have a
Take
good
care.
weekend.
Thank you.
Yeah. Take care.
Bye.
Bye.